All right, what's going on, everybody? I hope this video right here finds you well. We are back and we're going to be going into, again, Too Far Under the Plane series part 4. And we're going to cover a topic that I think we can associate ball flight based on how a player finishes and how we can use a drill right here to help fix it. So this is going to be a really good one. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing when we go into why is the finish important, most importantly, like what are the key things that we would see out of players that hit certain ball flights and certain shot shapes? So if we start with the player that's too far under the plane, typically, so like if I come in here and I have a finish that I'm going to say that is out and up, so you can see how my hands and the golf club have finished higher right here, we can associate that finish a lot of times with blocks, hooks, thin shots, and we would call that low point back. And so a lot of times what that becomes is the arms are getting stuck too far behind the player here. So the only place they can go is out and up. And so you can see where my shoulder line is here and how my club and the hands are higher than where my shoulder line is. And if you watch what this golf ball does when I finish like that, you can see how that right there would be a block right there. That'd be a thin push or a thin block out to the right. So we can use the finish a lot of times when we go into reverse engineering change to get a lot of the stuff for free better in the backswing and in the downswing by focusing on a place that we actually need to get to. So a lot of times what happens right here for this player, when they get their arms trapped behind them, if they continue to turn through the shot, you can see how that golf club would not reach the golf ball. So they're forced to move their body in towards the golf ball, which sends the path too far out to the right for a right-handed player, which then creates a really high finish. And a lot of times, the more that that golf club is swinging out to the right for the right-handed player, we end up getting a lot more twists. So we can associate that with two different types of shots. You can see the block that I've already hit. If I do this again, and I twist the grip right there, now I've hit a big hook right there. Notice both of those shots as well were very thin because of where my body is moving. So a lot of times what we can do is by getting the finish better, we can actually make the transition, the downswing, and we can get the impact better a lot of times for free. So this would be kind of my least invasive way to be able to change this. So let's get into that drill. So the drill that I have right here, what we're going to use is we're going to use the iRange Sports antenna. And how we're going to use this is for a directional movement of the shoulders and the arms. Now, you might not have this. I think it's a really useful tool with their product. Highly recommend everything that they do. But what we would do is we would take this and we would place this underneath our lead arm, so underneath our lead armpit. And so what you would notice right in here is if I get my arms trapped and I swing up, you can see how my arms have run into the stick that I have, the antenna that I have underneath my arm there. So what our goal is, what we would do is we have a thing that our right arm does, which is what we would call this adduction. So if you're standing straight up and down like this, the first thing that I would tell you to do is learn how to actually move the shoulder at a right angle to the spine and move it around you, because now when we add turn, you can see how that would put my finish over here underneath this antenna that I have under my left arm. So my first place that I might actually start is actually just saying, all right, if I rehearse impact and I keep my head on center and I work this around me, there's a very distinct feel that I get right here. And that feel is that my bicep / my tricep is moving into my chest versus moving behind my chest wall, that creates a lot of this out and up. So this would be one of the ways that we could do this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start at impact. And all we're going to do is, keeping our head on center, we're going to keep the right arm straight. I'm going to move it into my chest. I'm going to say, all right, what does that feel like to keep this underneath the antenna? And this is very distinct right here because it's almost like this arm is going across my body versus out and away and over it. It's one of the very first places right here that we could actually practice hitting shots. And so I think we run through this in 3 different lengths of motions. We run through a short length motion, which would be like shaft parallel to the ground, going to a full finish. Then we're going to run through a 3/4 length motion where our lead arm is parallel to the ground. And then eventually what we can do is we can run that into our full motion right here. So I'm going to set up more of a neutral ball position, neutral handle position. I'm going to position myself right here at impact, feel where my finish is. So my right arm is across my chest now. And I'm just going to start off by hitting these little short shots right here, shaft parallel to the ground, just to gain a feel of this and say, all right, there's my arm going more across my chest. And what I would be able to say right there is that my golf ball did not start way to the right, and I actually made turf interaction. Okay, so that would be a really good starting point for this drill right here, is placing this underneath the lead arm. We're going to get it, it won't sit perfectly parallel to the ground, but it's got a little bit of an angle to it. Feel impact, head's on center. Right arm is into my chest. And what I'm feeling in this is I feel like my right arm and shoulder is actually what's starting to move my body the direction of the target there, okay? So I'm going to be in here, neutral setup, there's impact, feel my finish once. I'm going to do another short one to get all of this correct. And that was another really great feel. You can see how I've made solid turf interaction. The ball has not started way out to the right, and it was not thin. Those would be our key checkpoints for this. So we know that we're not hanging backwards, the low points back to where the club's moving out and the club is moving up too much. So now what we're going to do is let's run this through a longer length motion. So if I kind of mapped out what my feel would be here, so I have my ball position just behind the center of my left shoulder, club face is square to the shaft. I'm going to go left arm parallel, feel my finish where my right bicep is into my chest, and I'm going to stick that finish right there as I hit this golf ball. And same thing again, very solid turf interaction. Golf ball started pretty straight, maybe a hair left, and actually fell a little bit to the right. So again, if we are too far under the plane, it's okay to take this a little bit more extreme, because I'll bet when we start to get back into more normal motions, we're going to have a little bit of that in to out creep back in. But I think it's really important to know what is too much in to out, if that's where we are, and also what is the opposite feel of that, what would be too low, okay? Gives us a kind of a middle ground to find where the center of this would be. So I think this is a really great drill. Let's do this one more time. All right, so we've got the antenna in. I'm going to feel impact. Right arm is into my chest. This time we'll take this back a little further. We'll go a little bit faster. I'm going to stick that finish where that right arm is snug up against my chest right there. Same thing. Now you can see how that golf ball has started more to the left. And that ball actually projected a little bit more fade as opposed to too much hook. And you can see how I'm able to create turf interaction now as well with this. So really great tool to use, great feedback station for anybody that struggles with their finish being too far up, too far out, to be able to make that change, to start to get things back to more of a neutral place that we can basically hit all of our different shots from. So I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions on this. Appreciate your support. Thanks for taking the time to watch. We'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this video here. If you haven't, please click that subscribe button. You can also click the bell right there, and that's going to notify you every time that I release a new YouTube video. Also, if you haven't, check out that last video that I did. It's right here, pinned to the screen. Thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave those below, and I will make sure I get back to each and every one of you. So, thank you again. Appreciate your support. We'll see you next time.